All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're tearing down one of the most advanced, and let's be honest, one of the most intimidating attack helicopters ever built, the AH-64 Apache. I mean, this thing is a total marvel of engineering, basically a flying tank. But how does it actually work? So, let's start with this wild idea. How does a pilot aim a 30mm cannon? Just by turning their head. I mean, seriously, think about that. Aiming a massive weapon with just a glance. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But for an Apache crew, well, that's just another day at the office. And we're going to show you exactly how they pull it off. Okay, so before we get into all that crazy tech, you really have to understand the team. See, the Apache's incredible power isn't just about the hardware. It's really about this unique two-person crew, a pilot and a gunner, working in perfect sync. Each one has a very, very specific job. So this tandem cockpit layout you're looking at, it's absolutely key to how the Apache works. The gunner gets the front seat. Why? Well, it gives them a totally unobstructed view of the ground, which is perfect for finding and engaging targets. Then you've got the pilot, sitting behind and a little bit higher up. That position is just perfectly optimized for the actual job of flying this multi-ton beast. All right, so we've got the crew. Now let's talk about how this thing actually hunts. The Apache's is, at its core, a predator. And every great hunter needs exceptional eyesight. This is where we get into the really revolutionary stuff, the sensor and targeting systems that give this crew their incredible edge. And here it is. This is the answer to that question we started with. It's a system that literally links the crew's helmet directly to the targeting sights and that 30mm cannon. So when the gunner or the pilot turns their head to look at something, sensors right in the helmet track that movement and poof, the external gun and camera systems mimic it instantly. It's look, aim, and fire, all in one totally seamless motion. Incredible. Okay, that helmet system is absolutely amazing for targets you can see right in front of you. But what about an enemy you can't see? You know, like a bunch of tanks hiding behind a hill, maybe miles away? For that, you're going to need a completely different kind of vision. And this is the solution. You see that distinctive mushroom-shaped dome right on top of the main rotor? That is the Longbow fire control radar, and its placement is genius. The Apache can just pop that radar up over a hill or some trees, scan the entire battlefield in 360 degrees, and then duck back down into cover before anyone even has a clue it was there. It's the ultimate game of tactical peekaboo.
And when it peeks, believe me, it sees everything. Get this, in a single 6-second sweep, that radar can identify and track up to 300 potential targets. And it's not just seeing them, it's classifying them. You know, is it a friend? Is it a foe? A tank? A truck? It then prioritizes the biggest threats and feeds all of that information right to the crew's displays. It's unbelievable.
So, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the crew is using their own eyes or this all-seeing radar. The basic idea is exactly the same. There's this quote from one of the original designers that just sums it up perfectly, and it's the perfect way to move from finding the target to, well, dealing with it. All right, so we've covered the eyes. Now let's talk about the claws. The Apache can be armed with a frankly terrifying mix of weapons. And it's so versatile, you can tailor the loadout for any mission, whether you're taking out some light vehicles or destroying entire enemy formations. So here's a look at the primary loadout. You've got the M230 chain gun, which is great for softer targets. Then you have the legendary Hellfire missiles. These are your primary tank killers. And on top of that, pods of Hydra 70 rockets for covering a wider area. But the most important thing to see here is the flexibility. The crew can mix and match all of this, basically turning the Apache into a specialized tool for whatever the job needs. Now, those Hellfire missiles bring up a really critical concept called fire and forget. So what does that even mean? Well, it's pretty simple. Once that missile is launched, its own internal guidance system takes over completely. This is a huge, huge advantage. It means the Apache doesn't have to hang around in the open, exposed, to guide the missile to the target. It can launch and immediately dive back behind cover. And that, of course, dramatically increases its own chances of survival. Okay, so we've covered the hunting and the fighting, but all that firepower is totally useless if you can't get it to the battle in the first place, right? So the big question is, how does this incredibly complex, heavy machine master the air with so much agility? Let's dig into the physics of how it flies. Well, it all starts right here, with the heart of the beast,
The Apache is powered by two of these, two General Electric turboshaft engines. Now, it's important to know, this isn't like a turbojet on a plane that's all about creating thrust to push it forward. A turboshaft is designed to do one thing really, really well: produce a massive amount of rotational power. It's all about turning a shaft, and that shaft is what spins the rotors.
Now, I know this can look really complicated, but it all boils down to just a few key forces. First, the main rotor blades spin to generate lift. Simple enough. But here comes physics. Newton's third law says that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So as those big blades spin one way, the body of the helicopter wants to spin the other way. Without something to stop it, you'd just be spinning out of control. And that is the entire job of the tail rotor. It's there to push back against that spin, that torque, and keep the whole thing pointing straight. So to manage all of this, the pilot is using three main controls. Let's start with the first one, the collective. This is a lever that changes the angle or the pitch of all the main rotor blades at the same time. You pull up on it, the pitch increases, that creates more lift, and boom, the helicopter goes up. It's as simple as that. All right, next up is the cyclic. This is the control stick, and it's super clever. It changes the pitch of each blade individually as it spins around. So if you push the stick forward, it creates a little more lift at the back of that big spinning rotor disc that tilts the whole aircraft forward, and that's what pushes it forward through the air. This is how you get all your directional movement: forward, backward, left, and right. And finally, you've got the pedals. These are what control the tail rotor that we talked about earlier. Pushing the left or right pedal changes how much thrust that tail rotor is putting out. This is what allows the pilot to point the nose of the helicopter left or right. It's a movement called yaw. So to put it all together, you can see how flying a helicopter like the Apache isn't about doing just one thing at a time. It is a constant, delicate dance between all three of those controls. Every single movement is this complex combination of tiny adjustments to the collective, the cyclic, and the pedals. It's an incredible act of coordination that pilots spend thousands of hours mastering. And we can't finish up without really taking a second to appreciate the sheer scale of this machine. I mean, just look at it. The Apache stands over 15 feet tall and is 48 feet long. When you put it next to an average person, you finally get a real sense of the size and power we've been talking about. This is no small aircraft. This thing is an absolutely dominant force. So at the end of the day, we've seen how the Apache works, from its two-person crew to its incredible weapons, to the very physics that keep it in the air. But really, it all comes back to that first idea we talked about, that seamless link between the human and the machine. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. When our technology can literally make a weapon an extension of a pilot's own gaze, what does that really tell us about the future of the human-machine partnership?